Yeah, my name is Chris Hall, and I was fortunate enough to oversee the Aqualink pilot project that ran this September in the Southern Gulf Islands, which was a scheduled water taxi system that connected Salt Spring, Galiano, Mayne, Pender, and Saturna. And we partnered with a local company, Gulf Islands Water Taxi, which was great and was really good feedback from the local community and everyone to be able to easily transport between the islands on a passenger water taxi scheduled service.
I was wondering if you could tell me some of the challenges of operating your inter-island water taxi pilot.
Yeah, I think obviously everyone's main question and was obviously the biggest challenge was just the kind of cost benefit ratio. Obviously, operating powerboats is an expensive endeavor to do. So I think it's important to connect our islands and make them more easily accessible for people to get to islands that are so close from shopping and staying local and supporting goods and transport and things like that, but finding a really kind of economical way to do it where it's going to be affordable in terms of user fares and also in terms of any extra funding that it would cost to do that. So I think that'll definitely be the biggest challenge is finding an economical model that makes sense for everybody.
I was curious if you could tell me a little bit more about your online booking platform that you created for the pilot, because I think it looked really successful, and I'm just curious to hear more about that.
Yeah, we were very happy with how our online booking system turned out, actually. We think it was very kind of user-friendly in terms of people booking schedules and seeing where they needed to go from choosing a departure location, and your dates and times came up and where you were going and kind of plugged it in and made it really easy to do that and make an online booking, pay ahead of time. And then you just show up and give your name when you arrive. So I think the technology and the booking system we had was great. And we look forward to using that in the future for whatever it may look like, whether it's Tour de Eel, if they want to use it moving forward, or for a regular service if that falls into place.
I'm wondering what kind of travelers you saw over the duration of the pilot, and where they were going, and were they locals, were they visitors?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big kind of curiosity part that we were really excited to see was the demographics and how it was used and who it was used by. So it was surprising. I know it was the month of September, so we have a little less tourists going on, but even over Labor Day, it was surprisingly used far more by locals. About 85% of people were living within the Gulf Islands who used it throughout the duration. And definitely had some more routes that were more popular than others, which isn't totally surprising based on population and demographics. But Salt Spring to Galiano was the most used route by twice as much as any other route. And then Pender and Salt Spring was the second most. So I think through demographics and also just through the way the schedule was booked, those two being the closest together and a quick kind of 20-25 minute ride. Whereas for the other ones, it was a lot longer as you made the stops along the way. So I think both of those contributed to that.
Did you find that the availability of like ground transport opportunities at the port, or the closeness or proximity to the town center played a role in what routes people were exploring?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, moving forward, I think that's going to be one of the keys is, looking at multimodal transportation and not just one aspect of it. Because I think that was definitely one of the challenges. I'm on Pender Island, and unfortunately our taxi service just sold off island, and our community bus isn't currently running. So there's very little transport to get around once people are here. So we did try and set up the ports because of that to be the main hubs of the islands, which wasn't the most economical routes for the water taxi, but it brought people in to the hubs and Ganges and to Port Browning on Pender, where they'd be able to walk around and see as much as they could without having that grand transportation available.
So looking forward, do you see there being more opportunities for increased inter-island water travel? Like what do you think that could look like?
Yeah, I think we're going to be excited to see the community feedback that comes in from this project with the CRD and really what people look for, and do a little bit more digesting on the information that we've gathered during this pilot project. But yeah, I think there's a couple options that for an economical mode that could kind of work long term. And I think it's going to be kind of branched off, including a number of different people and maybe some smaller and less frequent routes between, you know, Pender and Saturna and some of the smaller hubs, and some sort of bigger, more operational routes between Salt Spring and Galiano, and just those connections in between. So I think it's definitely going to take a multifaceted approach to make it a long-term success.
Yeah, something we were talking about was the potential for improved inter-island water transportation to like facilitate the movement of workers and professionals between the islands. And that's something that really speaks to me, or like the early childhood educators trying to get around the islands, because staffing for the daycares is a real trick. And so, you know, the potential that a water taxi service might offer to moving people around.
Yeah.
Or housing too, right?
Housing and working. And I think that's where you kind of bring in all these extra things where, you know, maybe some bigger places like Poets Cove or other places subsidize it a bit to bring in their workers, and you kind of incorporate a number of different things, and you know, be a smaller aspect of it, but transporting goods between the islands as well. I think I brought this up before where, you know, working at Poets Cove, we really wanted to carry Salt Spring Island cheese, and because it didn't come through any of the major suppliers, it was just impossible for us to get in an economical way. Whereas if there was a boat running on a daily basis, they could throw it on in the morning, and we'd pay a small fee to have it dropped off on Pender, and can kind of support goods throughout the islands as well.
That's a really good point. I know over the years, the Saturna General Store has brought in certain products via Gulf Island Water Taxi, with like the kids would carry it on the boat with them, and, you know, bring the box off the water taxi and deliver it to one of the store staff. So yeah, I think that's a really cool opportunity, moving like, especially like locally produced artisan goods from one island to the others, just to get them to more markets.
Really.
Any last thoughts or anything you'd like to add?
I don't think so. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting the community's feedback from all the islands, and seeing what they think of the proposals that'll be coming up soon.
Thank you, Chris. I really appreciate you meeting me, and I hope you have a good afternoon.
You as well.
Yeah, I will. Thanks. Bye.
Okay.